This is the all-out edition of AEW Unrestricted. Hi, everybody. Tony Schiavone and Aubrey Edwards with the president and CEO of All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan.
Yay.
Thank you.
How you doing, brother?
It's great to be here with
Hello,
both of you.
hello.
I'm very excited about All Out this weekend.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Really excited about the great card, and great to be on Unrestricted previewing this awesome pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of great action to come up. We actually have AEW Rampage a little bit later tonight.
Right.
And we're going to have a great weekend. Really got a great start to the week of pro wrestling with the big announcements for this pay-per-view on Dynamite, and I don't think there was anything bigger in the world of pro wrestling than what happened on Wednesday night between the AEW Undisputed World Champion Jon Moxley and the number one contender, the former world champion, CM Punk.
Yeah, it was, and I mentioned to you about this when we were getting ready to do this podcast. It was one of the most emotional scenes I've ever seen when, of course, Jon Moxley had left the contract in the ring, and Ace Steel came to pick it up and approached CM Punk. And CM Punk's reaction, the way he went to the fans, to the stands, was to me one of the best moments we've ever had on Dynamite.
Absolutely. We've had 152 episodes of Dynamite. We've been doing this roughly 3 years now on TV, and that was one of the greatest scenes ever when CM Punk's longtime friend, his trainer, one of our coaches, usually somebody backstage during Dynamite, Ace Steel, went out and said some really powerful words, and the emotion it stirred, not just from fans at home, from fans in the arena, also from CM Punk himself, what Ace Steel was able to bring out. It was pretty amazing. And also CM Punk, what he said, what he went out, and the connection he had with the crowd here around Chicago, Illinois. It's pretty amazing. And it was a year ago at All Out where CM Punk first debuted his first match in AEW. And since then, he's been on an amazing run. But I have to say, we've never seen anything in the AEW World title picture like what happened. The first Jon Moxley CM Punk match. I mean, all summer, Jon Moxley, the interim world champion, went on this amazing run of matches, and all of his impressive victories across this summer, great wrestlers. Like, you know, we could just list for 10 minutes probably just all the great matches Mox had as the interim champion. But probably the most impressive win yet was what happened in Jon Moxley CM Punk 1. And there's a lot of questions. Did CM Punk come back to pro wrestling too soon after his injury?
That was the question,
And I don't know if we have an answer to that yet.
He said, he talked about that. And when he first came out and we saw on Dynamite, he talked about coming back too soon. But then he said the foot is 100%. But it looked like to me he was really downtrodden. He obviously was. And I thought for a minute, is he going to throw this all away, this great career, because of that loss? Which was, really defeating to him. But as you said, Ace came in and picked him up, and boy, what a moment this was. So now we've got the match. Jon Moxley came out at the beginning of the program, and what he said, frankly, was insulting to CM Punk. And he talked about, he had 60 minutes in him, and it only took 3 minutes. And I'm sure CM Punk is backstage listening to this. And when CM Punk came out again, it was like, man, I don't know how he's going to react to this. But then his reaction after Ace came in was unbelievable. It was one of the most exciting, emotional things I've ever seen. We saw CM Punk take that contract, go up into the stands with the fans, many of the fans who are going to be with him and watching the pay-per-view, All Out coming up on Sunday. But he is going to face a real force. And he connects with the fans, I get that, but he's going to face a real force in wrestling. Jon Moxley has won 18 singles matches in a row. And set aside the match with CM Punk that he had, that was one of those 18, right? Okay.
It was probably the most impressive one.
The most impressive one ever.
Easily.
And he's had some impressive wins. Forbidden Door against Tanahashi. I mean, that was...
One of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, think about the guys and the wrestlers he's gone through. This is going to be a very, very special match. And it's going to be the match that all the world is going to be watching, because can CM Punk come back and become the world champion once again?
Yeah. And can Jon Moxley make it 19 straight? 19 Absolutely. The summer of Mox in many ways. But CM Punk here in Chicago, like you said, the connection he has with the fans, it's like a home game for him, it feels like. Just like for Mox, he had that home court advantage in Ohio. So it's going to be interesting. But I can't wait. It just feels like it's going to be a great wrestling match. There's so much at stake on Sunday up and down the great card and All Out. but there's no match in all of pro wrestling with more at stake than the undisputed World Championship, Jon Moxley versus CM Punk on Sunday at All Out.
Oh, it's going to be so great.
So our next match, Aubrey, is one that's been decades in the making.
Absolute decades in the making. We've got Chris Jericho over 30 years, Bryan Danielson over 20 years, and their respective groups, Jericho Appreciation Society, Blackpool Combat Club. Right. They've been at it for months. We've had amazing matches in Anarchy in the Arena, Blood and Guts. Just these two guys, both of their factions have been at it. But really the story comes down to Daniel Garcia. A few weeks back, Daniel Garcia is hanging in the ring, 2 out of 3 falls against his hero, the American Dragon versus the Dragon Slayer. And when Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson are about to have that sign of respect, Jericho comes in and busts it up. And it's all for Jericho to ask for an apology on Dynamite. He puts Garcia in a rough spot. And now we have this history between Jericho and Bryan Danielson. Never have they ever faced one-on-one on AEW before. This will be first time. There's so much history in this match from the both of them, but we're making history here. We've got the Lionheart, Chris Jericho versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
It is a big time major league match that we are going to have as one of our big events coming up. And Tony, we have tons of respect for both these guys.
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. Chris Jericho is the Lionheart. I get that. Sports entertainer, traditional wrestler, whatever. It comes down to these two men, a match that we've been wanting to see for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
It comes down to this.
It's a dream match. Long before AEW existed, before anybody imagined AEW was even a possibility, this is a dream match. Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson have not had a one-on-one match in almost 10 years. And both of them have come so far in their careers since then. It's amazing to think where they're at now. Both of them are arguably as good or better than they've ever been.
I think they're better.
Bryan Danielson, the run he's been on in AEW is one of the greatest run of wrestling matches I've ever seen. And Chris Jericho, I really believe this is the best Chris Jericho we've seen. When we started AEW, this company was largely built around Chris Jericho, the first AEW World Champion ever, Le Champion. And he's better now today than he was at the start of AEW. He looks amazing. He can pull off the Lionheart today, almost 30 years later, because frankly, he's in the same amazing condition, in some ways better. I mean, when you see a side-by-side, I was 13 years old, and there in Philadelphia, Chris's last week in the ECW arena, Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and to see side-by-side Chris Jericho today, AEW, Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and how far he's come, but still he looks as good as ever. He's maybe better than ever in the ring. This is a dream match to have Bryan Danielson, who I think since he came to AEW has consistently had some of the most entertaining, some of the best and most exciting wrestling matches, versus Chris Jericho. For decades, these guys have been two of the top pro wrestlers in the world, and for over a decade on television, they've been two of the biggest TV stars. And in Chris Jericho's case, decades, and Bryan Danielson's had a good decade on top on TV. And the American Dragon and the Lionheart, that's a match we've never seen. I'm really excited about it. And we saw a glimpse of this Lionheart. Chris came back against Jon Moxley. I thought it was one of the best matches of Chris's 30-plus year wrestling career.
I'd agree.
I don't say it lightly. And I thought it was one of the best matches in the history of AEW Dynamite. And I'm excited to have American Dragon versus Lionheart. Of course, Bryan has been here for exactly 1 year.
1 year, that's right. It was.
Oh, wow, that's right.
This marks the 1 year, and I have to say, of all the matches in 1 year, the classics, the 1 hour draw with Hangman for the World Championship, 30 minutes with Omega at Grand Slam. He's had all these classic matches, the Anarchy in the Arena. So many times we've seen Bryan Danielson, and the match you mentioned, Aubrey, great point. The Dragon versus the Dragon Slayer, 2 out of 3 falls, classic. Another one of the best matches in the history of Dynamite. Time after time, we've seen Danielson step up. That was pretty special to be able to have AEW associate with the great HBO House of the Dragon show and do that co-promotion and be able to tie that in, have an amazing 2 out of 3 falls match, Dragon versus Dragon Slayer with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at ringside. And Bryan Danielson, in one of the best matches we've seen, he came out on top. Jericho got involved afterwards, and it set us on this collision course, really, that I think we'd been on for a long time anyway, probably since before Anarchy in the Arena, before that major injury to Bryan Danielson. And now we're back on course here in AEW in more ways than one, and it means Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, versus Lionheart, Chris Jericho, this Sunday on pay-per-view, All Out. You know what's amazing about the promotion of the show, Tony, that one of my favorite parts is to see the video footage that we have from the New Japan Pro Wrestling library of Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and from Ring of Honor and New Japan of American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, through all the years today, and to see how their careers have spanned and still today how they're just as good or better than ever. And I think it's one of the really cool parts of the build of the match, as we've seen in the commercials, and we're going to see on the Countdown show and on the 0 Hour and the videos leading up to All Out. Pretty amazing, the great careers they've had, and that it's all coming together with this dream match at All Out. 1 year after Danielson arrived in AEW, and exactly 3 years after Chris Jericho in the same building became the first ever AEW World Champion. Pretty special.
It is going to be special, and it's all coming up, part of All Out, and it's coming up on Sunday exclusively on pay-per-view. We're talking about the entire card. Also coming up at All Out, we are going to crown the first ever AEW World Trios Champions. We have right now 3 teams still in the running. As we know, the winner of the Dynamite part of the bracket, the Dynamite champion, Young Bucks and Kenny Omega together. And they await to see who's going to win on Rampage on Friday. It's either going to be the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy or members of the Dark Order, Silvers and Reynolds, teaming up with Hangman Adam Page. How about that for the final of the Rampage bracket?
Yeah, it's going to be a great match tonight, Friday night, as we're taping this on Rampage. And what a match it's going to be Sunday. Either one of those teams, Hangman, Silver and Reynolds, or Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. It's going to be a great match, whoever matches up against Young Bucks and Kenny Omega on Sunday at pay-per-view. And I have to say, those teams are going to beat the hell out of each other on Friday Night Rampage, Hangman Page and Silver and Reynolds versus Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. But also, Kenny and Young Bucks, they had a lot taken out of them in the match on Dynamite. But even after Dynamite went off the air, we saw Osprey and Aussie Open came back for more, jumped him after the bell. Kind of really terrible sportsmanship and character we've consistently seen from Aussie Open, and especially Will Ospreay, the kind of person he is. But it'll make it even more interesting. Another X factor going into the match, because it looked like Kenny Omega had taken a big step in his recovery. We'll see, will Kenny Omega, and for that matter, the Young Bucks, be 100% going in? And we'll see what happens coming out of this match with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends versus Hangman and the Dark Order tonight on Rampage on Friday night, and where that leaves us going into this Sunday on pay-per-view at All Out.
So that we're going to find out, as we said on Rampage, which team will go on to face Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and as Tony just said, will Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks be 100%?
It's been a great tournament, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been a tremendous tournament.
It's been
fantastic
great matches.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Great matches we've had.
I mean, amazing, including the Death Triangle versus Osprey and Aussie Open. I mean, what Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Andrade El Idolo, Rush and Dragon Lee, and then what a great match. Again, this week on Dynamite with Omega and the Young Bucks versus Osprey and Aussie Open. Some classics, and I expect another great one tonight on Rampage. And whoever wins that match, whether it's Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends or Hangman Page and the Dark Order, it'll be a great Trios Championship final to determine the first ever World Trios Champions of AEW this Sunday at All Out. Available on pay-per-view worldwide here on Bleacher Report, cable satellite in the U.S., pay-per-view.com in demand, and overseas,
Fight.tv, as well as pay-per-view.com. And don't forget, we're going to be in over 400 theaters in North America, okay? So you can watch it in theaters as well.
Oh, wow. Fancy.
Yeah, AMC, Cinemark, and Regal Theaters. Check your listings for that. Well, this summer, as you know, we crowned an AEW Interim World Champion, and what a great summer it was, and what a great run Jon Moxley had as the Interim World Champion and became the Undisputed World Champion. Coming up at All Out, we are going to crown an AEW Interim Women's World Champion. That's because Thunder Rosa has been injured, and we're going to have 4 ladies who had a great tag match on Dynamite this past Wednesday, Aubrey. 4 women who are going to get their shot at becoming the Interim Women's World Champion.
So you have Thunder Rosa, who has to take a little bit of time to recover from injury. But we've got these 4 amazing women coming in. The championship picture is just as hot as ever. We've got Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa's tag team partner, #1 contender, had an amazing match with Thunder Rosa at Forbidden Door versus Dr. Britt Baker, former champion. Hikaru Shida, also former champion. We have Jamie Hayter, who's an amazing competitor. We saw all 4 of these women in a tag match on Dynamite this week. This match could go any way, just as we saw with Jon Moxley and CM Punk.
Sure.
There's so much action happening here, and the Interim could eventually become the Undisputed.
Right.
There's so much excitement.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it's going to be a great match at the pay-per-view. Dr. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida versus Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really fired up. I think it's not only 4 of the best wrestlers in AEW, 4 of the top-ranked women, and 4 great contenders, and we're going to crown 1 great interim women's world champion at All Out, and I'm thrilled and fired up about it.
We will crown a first-ever AEW women's interim world champion coming up at All Out. We have some more championship matches to talk about in All Out. In addition to the championship matches still to come, we are going to see one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in a trios match. We'll be talking about that when we continue here on AEW Unrestricted. It is AEW Unrestricted coming to you from Chicago on All Out Weekend. It's coming up on Sunday, and don't forget, Labor Day weekend means All Out Weekend. And this Sunday, exclusively on pay-per-view, starting with 0 hour, 7 o'clock, 6 Central. The pay-per-view All Out begins 8 o'clock, 7 Central. Cable, satellite providers. Also, don't forget, you can see it on Bleacher Report internationally, on Fight.tv, pay-per-view.com internationally, and over 400 theaters in North America will be bringing you All Out. We've talked about some of the great matches, and I mentioned one of the greatest wrestlers of all time is going to be a part of All Out. Yes, it is Sting!
There you go.
And he'll be teaming with Miro and Darby Allin to take on House of Black. And I want to tell you, I was in the arena on Wednesday when we saw Miro being flanked by Sting and Darby Allin.
Oh, my God.
What a response from the fans.
Right?
It was amazing.
Well, it really is. Yeah.
They loved it.
Sting has been timeless, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the all-time greats, Tony. Nobody's more closely associated with the great moments in Sting's career than you.
Right.
And I'm just honored that we now in AEW can be a part of the great legacy that Sting's had in the pro wrestling business. And he's been in some of the great pay-per-view and TV matches in AEW. And I'm really excited, and clearly so are the wrestling fans, for Sunday on pay-per-view, the House of Black versus Darby Allin, Miro, and Sting.
Right. The most unlikely trio ever. I mean, when I saw Miro standing with Darby and Sting, I went, whoa, I didn't even think about that. But, I mean, Miro has been such a powerhouse, an incredible athlete.
An amazing wrestler here in AEW, a former TNT champion, and what a trio it's going to be. And they're going up against one of the great trios in AEW, the House of Black.
Right.
Unbelievable. In particular, we've seen all 3 of them dominate in singles, tag, and now as a trio. I think they're as tough as anybody in AEW. Miro stepped in. Miro may be the only reason that they're not the AEW Trios finals.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And he cost them, and I think they're as deadly a trio as anybody in AEW.
Sure.
It was really beneficial for the Dark Order, and now they're in a great position for this match, Dark Order and Hangman Page versus the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. But the House of Black were one of the favorites going into the tournament, and you got to think the House of Black have worked together as a trio a lot.
Sure they have.
Whereas Miro has never teamed with Darby and Sting, and honestly, Miro and Darby really have not gotten along historically.
That's right.
So it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on, of course, how those trios not only work against each other, but how they work together.
Sure, absolutely. So it's going to be an incredible trios match as part of All Out coming up on this Labor Day weekend. As you know, from Chicago here at the Now Arena, where we're coming to you, by the way, we had Dynamite on Wednesday, Rampage coming up this Friday, and then, of course, the pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. In Aubrey, we have a grudge match. I don't know if I should call it a grudge match. It's really more than that between Christian Cage
much
and
more.
Boy.
It's much more. There's some deep-seated hatred between these two guys.
I know.
We had Christian Cage, who's a mentor, almost a father figure, if you take his words for it, to Jungle Boy. Yeah. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus had a great tag team run, lost the titles to the Young Bucks, and then we see Christian Cage turn on Jungle Boy in just a heinous and awful fashion. And since then, they've been at each other's throats, just hurling insults and all of these things. And I think it's finally just boiled up to the surface, and we're going to see these two guys finally go at it.
The things that Christian Cage has said has been
awful.
It's just been awful.
No, it's really over the line and terrible stuff Christian Cage has said about Jungle Boy, about Jungle Boy's family.
Yes.
And now I think, especially after what Christian did to Jungle Boy, after turning on him and throwing away over a year of friendship, mentorship, and partnership, it's really something that I'm excited to see what happens, Christian versus Jungle Boy, this Sunday at All Out on pay-per-view.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the great matches that we have. And don't forget, fans, once again, cable satellite providers. You can also check it on Bleacher Report, which is the digital home, by the way, of AEW pay-per-views. Also, internationally, Fight.tv, payperview.com as well. And as we said, I'm very excited about it. Check in with AMC, Cinemark, Regal Theaters, over 400 theaters in North America will be carrying this event live. And one of the other matches we have coming up is for the World Tag Team title. And that is going to be Swerve In Our Glory, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland against the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. My question to you is, Tony, do you think this is the moment for the Acclaimed to become World Tag Team champions? They got a shot, and they've been red hot.
And everybody loves them.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
And really, they're clicking more so than ever with the fans.
Yep.
Since they joined up with a mentor, Billy Gunn, they've got something. And the fans, every time they walk out there together, the fans go crazy. And I think the fans will go crazy again when they see the Acclaimed. And the Acclaimed are certainly some of the greatest homegrown stars we've ever had here in AEW.
I agree, yeah.
And they're wildly popular, but two more wildly popular stars who came to AEW in the past year and have put together some of the best matches, and one of the most impressive runs of wins would be Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, Swerve In Our Glory, the World Tag Team Champions.
They are so darn good.
They are incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And, when we saw them won the championship, we've seen they've really come together. They work together incredibly well. They actually had teamed before they ever got to AEW. And when they first started teaming in AEW, it looked like they weren't going to be able to get along. It looked like really they were both focused on their own singles careers possibly, but really we've seen Keith and Swerve have come together and been an incredible tag team, and I'm very excited to see Keith and Swerve versus the Acclaimed, and it's going to be a great match on the pay-per-view, certainly a great World Tag Team Championship match. And AEW pay-per-views, we know a thing or two about great tag team matches on pay-per-view, I have to say. And whether it was All Out last year and so many of our great pay-per-views, a lot of great tag team matches, including in this very arena here, the Now Arena. So hopefully a great tag match. The Acclaimed, who are one of the top tag teams we have in AEW, taking on the World Tag Team Champions, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, Swerving Our Glory.
It'll be for the World Tag Team Championship. It's all coming up at All Out. It will be Swerve In Our Glory, the champions, against the Acclaimed in advance of that title match coming up on Sunday. Tonight, on Friday Night Rampage on TNT, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central, I'll be talking to both teams as they prepare for the title match coming up Sunday and All Out. Now, listen, fans, that is not the only world title match we have. Aubrey, the TBS title, will be on the line as well.
We do have the TBS title match, Athena versus Jade Cargill, and this has been building for months and months. We've had Athena, who made a surprise debut at the last pay-per-view, Double or Nothing in Vegas, and she and Jade have been going back and forth. The baddies have been thrown in this mix. Now I've got Stokely Hathaway. This has been starting to boil over, and it's this might be Jade's toughest test yet.
I completely agree with you, Aubrey. Jade Cargill has been 36-0 in AEW. She has been dominant in so many of those matches. She's the TBS champion. And I don't think in any of those 36 matches we've seen anybody tougher, more prepared, maybe a more difficult matchup for Jade than Athena. Yeah. And ever since Athena got here in AEW and arrived at Double or Nothing, I think she's been chasing Jade. She's been chasing the TBS title. And if there's anybody that I'd like to see, the fans would like to see, that we all believe could take down Jade and win the TBS title, it's Athena. And that's going to be a great match here at All Out. Really excited for that.
All Out weekend is upon us. It's also Labor Day weekend, as you know, and you can be a part of it Sunday night. Don't forget cable satellite providers, Internationally, you can also see it on payperview.com, fight.tv. The digital home of All Out and of AEW pay-per-views is Bleacher Report, and also, as we said, over 400 theaters around North America will be carrying it. Fans, we also have another big trios match to talk about. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs will collide, and a casino ladder match. Plus, during the 0 hour, so many other great matches that we will talk about when we continue on AEW Unrestricted. We are coming to you from Chicago for AEW Unrestricted, and what a big weekend. Yes, it's Labor Day weekend, and you know what that means. It means AEW All Out, and it's coming up on Sunday. Don't forget that tonight is Rampage on TNT, 10 o'clock, 9 Central. We'll find out who the final team will be in the Trios Tournament Championship that will be coming up on Sunday. We have another big Trios match coming up. How about this? The TNT champion Wardlow teams with FTR, the most decorated tag team probably of all time, and they will face the team of Jay Lethal and Impact Wrestling's Motor City Machine Guns. Man, you talking about a tag team match? A trios tag team match? You've got 6 of the greatest athletes in AEW, Tony.
Well, 6 of the greatest athletes in all pro wrestling, and Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, they don't even work here.
Right.
Great wrestlers. They work for Impact Wrestling. They've got great history fighting all over the world. And in this case, I mean, anything could happen in this match, but I do think, like you said, Tony, 6 of the best, and it'll be really interesting because Jay Lethal's gone up and down the road with the Motor City Machine Guns, and in talking to FTR, I know that they respect a lot of tag teams. They scout, they study tag team wrestling as much or more than anybody in the history of this business. Yeah. And they have a ton of respect for Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns. So I know it means a lot to FTR to be able to lock up with them. And we've seen Wardlow go to war with Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal's brought in a great tag team to be his partners in this trios match, but they're going up against 3 of the best. The TNT champion Wardlow, who's just an absolute monster. And we've seen him unleash that powerbomb symphony time and time again.
Incredible.
And maybe the best tag team in the world, quite possibly. The Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the New Japan World Heavyweight IWGP Tag Team Champions, and, of course, the AAA Lucha Libre Tag Team Champions. They hold 3 of the top titles in pro wrestling. They're former AEW World Tag Team Champions. And, man, FTR and Wardlow, talk about a great trio to go up against Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. That's a great match.
That is going to be a great match, and that is part of All Out. Now, fans, don't forget, you still have a chance to join us, cable satellite providers, and don't forget you can join us on Bleacher Report, internationally, fight.tv, payperview.com, or 400 movie theaters around North America. Aubrey, we talked about a grudge match earlier. There's another big grudge match coming up on Sunday.
So we have Starks and Hobbs, who, in my eyes, were brothers. They came up through Team Taz, an amazing tag team with great chemistry, each of them having each other's backs. And when Ricky Starks dropped the FTW championship, I don't think any of us were expecting Hobbs to turn on him the way he did. Not only just, emotionally, but like how brutally he came and hit him from behind. And to see these two guys now going at it, Ricky Starks is an incredible wrestler. He's phenomenal on the mic. And as he said, this is his time. This is Ricky Starks' time. But there's something about Powerhouse Hobbs. He's this massive wrestler who just has so much power behind him, and the two of them, it's heartbreaking. But I'm really excited to see this match because I know there's so much passion between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are 2 of the great homegrown AEW stars again.
Yes.
2 years ago at All Out, it's the only time All Out did not take place here around Chicago. That year we held All Out in Daly's Place. And 2 of the wrestlers who really impressed in that Casino Battle Royale match were Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. 2 years later, they've been great singles wrestlers, great tag team wrestlers, part of a great faction in Team Taz. I thought they were one of the top tag teams in the entire world when they split up.
I believe it.
Also great singles wrestlers, and like you said, when Ricky Starks had that reign as FTW champion unexpectedly come to an end, Will Hobbs did not take long to put the knife in his back.
No.
And I'm really excited to see what happens when these 2 former friends go one-on-one.
Yeah.
It should be a great match.
Right. At All Out, a casino ladder match with the winner getting a guaranteed world title shot against the AEW World Champion. Now, that in mind, Claudio Castagnoli, the Ring of Honor World Champion, is going to be part of this Casino Ladder match, which means if he wins, it can set up Ring of Honor World Champion against AEW World Champion.
That would be very exciting, and it's one of the really exciting possibilities in this pay-per-view. It could set up the Ring of Honor World Champion, Claudio Castagnoli. If he wins the Casino Ladder match, could be in line to fight the AEW World Champion for the AEW title.
He's not the only champion involved in the Casino Ladder match. We have the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Wheeler Yuta, who got the big win for him on Wednesday, a little preview of this Casino Ladder match. We got the former World Tag Team Champions, the Lucha Brothers. We got Rush, who's the former Ring of Honor World Champion. Andrade El Idolo, he's been a world champion many times over. One of the greatest high flyers, young high flyers in the world. Dante Martin, just some of the names. And the Joker. And only one man knows who the Joker is going to be, and he is here to my left. I love ladder matches, but the intrigue of a Joker and all these great stars, Casino Ladder match, what a great event this is going to be in itself.
Thank you. I'm really excited for the Casino Ladder match. It's a great lineup of stars. It's a great format, I think. It's a really exciting match, and I can't wait to see who comes out of the Casino Ladder match and earns a guaranteed future shot at the AEW World Championship.
All Out, exclusively on pay-per-view, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, coming up on Sunday from the Now Arena in Chicago, preceded by 0 Hour. That starts at 7 o'clock, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, and 4 on the West Coast. And, Tony, it's going to be a great card for 0 Hour.
It's going to be great. It's the first time the 0 Hour has happened in this arena since 2018.
Right.
It's the first time we've ever done the 0 Hour in AEW.
That's right.
It's a great event to lead up to a great pay-per-view. I'm excited to have the 0 Hour as part of All Out Weekend. And it's going to be a great lineup of matches on the 0 Hour that we can talk about, which is free to everybody worldwide. A great hour of pro wrestling, plus a great look previews of the big matches coming up immediately after the 0 Hour at the All Out pay-per-view, available on Bleacher Report, cable, satellite, pay-per-view.com, movie theaters, all over the world.
Right.
The 0 Hour is free to anybody to watch. It's on AEW's YouTube, AEW Facebook, AEW Twitter. And for the first time ever, we're going to have 0 Hour on Instagram. It's the first AEW event ever streamed on Instagram.
How about that?
The 0 Hour Labor Day weekend. That's fun, this big event. And with a historic event like this, very fitting to have a huge AEW All-Atlantic Championship match on the card.
Right.
I'm really excited to have Pac defending against Kip Sabian.
Yeah, Kip Sabian and Pac will go one-on-one. We also have Hook defending the FTW Championship against Angelo Parker. And then one of the most anticipated rematch in pro wrestling and one of the great matches of the year goes back to Capital Collision on May 14th, 2022 in Washington, D.C., New Japan Pro Wrestling. Eddie Kingston and Ishii will have their rematch coming up on 0 Hour.
Yeah, 0 Hour. It was a classic match.
Yeah.
Ishii picking up a win over Eddie Kingston, two of the best hard-hitting heavyweight pro wrestlers on the planet. And they're going to wrestle, again, a big rematch of one of the best matches I've seen outside of AEW all year. Yeah. And it's free to everybody in the world to watch this Sunday, Labor Day weekend, 0 Hour, free show ahead of the great pay-per-view event, All Out. I'm excited to bring the 0 Hour back here to the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, and excited for it to be a part of All Out and excited for it to be a part of AEW. Just going to be a great weekend of pro wrestling here at All Out.
Don't forget, All Out is part of the part of us because we bring it to you each and every Labor Day weekend. And as Tony said, right here in the Now Arena on Sunday. Again, cable, satellite providers. You can also see it digitally on Bleacher Report. International viewers, that's fight.tv, pay-per-view.com, and also don't forget over 400 movie theaters around North America. Well, Tony, only thing I can say is let's go.
Let's go, buddy.
Let's go.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us. Aubrey, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us. We will see you in the Now Arena and live on pay-per-view coming up on Sunday night.